Arteaga for a loan.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2060, Baron versus Arteaga.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Barone, case is not a very difficult one. You met Mr. Arteaga?
Arteaga.
Take your hands out of your pockets. At a bar?
Yes.
When?
Back in June of 2021?
Did you ever live together?
No.
You always maintained your own residence and he his?
Yes, the apartment I owned was always underneath my name.
But he never lived there?
No.
Good. But you bought a car?
Yes.
In what month and year did you buy a car?
I ordered a Tesla back in, if I'm not mistaken, May. And
May of what year?
May of 2021.
Was it a new car?
Yes.
Give me a rough number. How much was it?
Out the door, 72,000.
And what color did you order?
Black.
This is what the case is about, and it's going to take me very, very little time to resolve the case. You ordered the $72,000 car in black, and because of whatever strange reason, you wanted the car wrapped. Now, I think most people know what that means, and I think I know what that means. That means you take a perfectly good car and you put a different finish on it. Is that what it means?
Yes.
You buy a car that has a nice shiny finish and looks clean, and then you put something on it that, I don't know, looks like it's been sitting out under a volcano.
I guess you could say that.
What?
I guess you could say that.
I just did. And that cost money. It cost an additional, I think, according to the papers that I read, $3,800.
No, it's $3,950.
How much?
$3,950.
And you had some of that money, but you gave him, transferred to him, $1,800 on your credit card.
Yes, so it was an agreement made between...
No, I didn't ask you. I didn't. You transferred to him $1,800 towards this wrap on his car.
I made the payment for him.
You made the payment for him on a credit card?
Yes.
And according to you, your arrangement was that he would pay you back monthly $100.
Correct.
You don't dispute that.
She offered.
Yeah, she offered. And you did, in fact, on 3 separate months, pay her back $100.
Yes.
And that means that in your view, it was a loan.
Well, it was more of a gift.
Well, then why would you pay her back $100 a month, Mr. Arteaga?
Because our finances are much different.
What do you mean
I was getting a car. I ordered a car, so it was a gift for me. Because she already knew that I was looking for a PPF, which is a paint protection film. So I'm more...
Listen to me.
Yeah.
You're not answering my question. You're doing a dance around my question. If it was a gift to you, this $1,800 towards the wrap for your car, why did you pay her back $300?
To help her out.
Yeah. And then you stopped, because that sounds ridiculous. You still have the Tesla?
I still do.
Yes. You making payments on it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. What kind of work do you do?
I'm an electrical superintendent.
Expensive car.
Indeed it is.
You're a single guy?
Yes.
That's what single guys do with their money. Tell me why you stopped paying her back, Mr. Arteaga.
Things got sour very quick.
So things got sour with the relationship?
Yes.
Okay. And is that when you stopped paying her?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500 is what he owes you for the balance of the loan. Thank you. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Annabelle.
We broke up. It was a nasty breakup. There was bad feelings and tensions between the both of us.
It was a bad breakup, yes, but there's a lot more details to it.
It was just out of pettiness at the end of the day.
Because she caused a lot of rifts.
I'm just not going to loan out money to just anyone from here on out.
I'm glad it's over.
And I'm really happy I get my $1,500 back.
Sarah and Judy.
Now that we've been here for a little while and I've been learning from you and all these cases that we've seen, still, rule number 1, never give a boyfriend money and expect to ever see it again. You will never see it again. It gets messy, it gets entangled, and we see it time and time again. So it's just hits even harder at home.
Have you noticed, Sarah, that it's probably 80-20 that women give money to boyfriends?
At least what we've seen here, yes.
You know, and if this is a microcosm of the world, and I don't know what that is, I haven't been able to figure it out. I've been doing this kind of business for 30 years, and I can't figure out why. Perfectly lovely young woman, guy's buying a $72,000 car and says, hey, babe, I'm short $1,800. Well, if you're short $1,800, buy a cheaper car.
Yeah.
You know, there are cars that cost less than $72,000. anyway.
But women should be smarter and not agree to do
smarter.
that.
They ought to make mandatory watching these cases as part of a growing up process.
A lot of great life lessons, for
Yes.
sure.
Case 2073, Joseph versus Williams. All parties, please step forward.
Donnell Joseph is suing his niece, Tina Williams, and his sister, Martha Williams, for personal property.
Mr. Joseph, these two ladies are your half-sisters?
My half-sister and her
And
daughter, my niece.
So, what's your first name?
Martha Williams.
Martha is your half-sister.
Yes,
And your first name?
Tina.
Tina is your niece.
yes,
And you and Martha have the same mother.
yes,
Your mother had a house. The house was in her name. Your mother passed away in the early 70s.
yes,
At that time, she was married to your father, not your father, correct? And your father lived in the house until he died.
yes.
And he died in what year?
2018.
Somehow the house, which had been in your mother's name, never went through a probate process. So as far as the law was concerned, the house remained in her name. It never went to her surviving spouse or her children when she passed away in the early 70s. What I'm reading is when your father passed away in 2018, the house sort of remained vacant for a while. For how long?
Since he passed away.
So nobody's lived there.
Correct.
And you knew your father passed away, I assume?
Yes,
And you knew your mother passed away.
yes.
And after your mother passed away, she passed away in 1971 and 1972, did you ever visit with your father in that house?
I visit with my father. I lived in the house.
From when to when?
Well, I lived in the house 1963 until like 72, and I started moving out. But I would still go
Well,
back to the house because it's my family home.
I want to know the last time, Mr. Joseph, you lived in the house.
1993.
So almost 30 years ago. And where have you been the last 30 years?
I've been in New York. I've been incarcerated.
You've been incarcerated from when to when?
93 to 2012.
So 1993 is when you last lived in the house,
Correct.
but you were released from prison in 2012.
Yes.
So for the last 10 years, you have not been back to the house.
I've been back to the house, but not living there as a resident.
Okay. So for 10 years,
Right.
as an adult, how old are you?
I'm 64.
As an adult, from age 54 to 64, you had access to the house, visited your father in the house.
Right.
Not before then.
Right.
Okay. And you haven't lived there full time in decades.
Correct.
This is what your lawsuit wants.
Caption. Coming up.
You had 10 years after you were released from prison to go and get these treasures, and you didn't do it.
Because my father's house was like the treasure of all his children's property. As long as he has...
As long as he had a bicycle
Yeah.
or a Boy Scout book. Let's
Am
start
I-
being real.
Okay.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Donnell, Tina, and Martha.
Donnell Joseph claims his niece, Tina Williams, and his sister, Martha Williams, threw away his personal belongings. Tina and Martha are countersuing for the cost of a cleaning crew.
Your lawsuit is seeking $10,000
Yes.
because, according to you, the defendants disposed of your property that was invaluable. And I'm going to describe the property that you say was invaluable. A 1911 Boy Scout handbook
Yes.
that you treasure.
Yes.
You should have taken it out of the house in 30 years if you treasured it. A mountain bike purchased in what year?
Was it 71 to 72 around there? I know it was a free spirit, 10 speed I got. That was in 1970 in the Univega.
You wanted it, this 50-year-old mountain bike? You should have taken it over the last 10 years. A vintage reel-to-reel tape player.
Yes.
You know how many of those I threw in the trash? Do you have any idea how many of those I threw in the trash? You got those a half a century ago. Oh my God, I remember them, big reels, and how excited we were. You could talk into a microphone, and then you could hear your voice come back, and then all of a sudden you got a phone. You could do that, the same thing. So everybody took these things, and they couldn't find enough places to dispose of them. It's not vintage anything. It's a piece of trash.
Can I speak, Your Honor?
About what?
Okay, the reel-to-reel tapes, right? Some of the tapes had speakings of my brother and Martha's daughter.
Then you should have taken them with you. In 40 years, if they were treasures of yours, sir, and you're 64 years old, I would want those treasures around me. And you had 10 years after you were released from prison to go and get these treasures. And you didn't do it. You just left them in your father's house.
Because my father's house was like the treasure of all his children's property. Okay. This is how we connected to our father, because everybody has left, everybody has died. So as long as he has...
As long as he had a bicycle? As long as he had a bicycle or a Boy Scout book?
The Boy Scout book was handed down to me from my father.
Let's start being real.
Okay.
Okay, let's start being real.
Okay.
And the first draft of my published manuscript.
Yes.
Why didn't you take that with you?
For safekeeping, I let my father hold it because
Well, that's not a good idea, sir. How old was your father when he passed away?
Oh, he was 88, but my father's mind was sharp as a tack. He kept everything.
If you wanted it, your father passed in 2018, is that what you're telling me?
I couldn't get nothing out of the house, so...
I don't know whether you could or whether you couldn't. When did you make just a second. When did you make an effort to remove your forget about the bike, forget about reel-to-reel tape recorder, forget about the nonsense. Your manuscript. When did you write this manuscript?
I wrote it over a couple of years. It's the first draft of this book.
It's the first draft of that book?
This book.
Well, now you have the book.
But I needed to draft it because the other draft I'm working on the second book that goes along with this book, I don't have certain notes and things that I had.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Yes, it doesn't.
It doesn't exist anymore. Okay. And if you wanted it, you should have gotten it. In 2018, when your father died, you were out of prison. Where were you living?
I was living in New York.
And where did your father live?
He lived in Los Angeles.
Between 2012 and 2018, how many trips did you make to visit with your father?
About 3.
And when did you publish that book?
2015.
So you published that book during your father's lifetime?
Yes.
And if you needed the manuscript, you came to visit your father. A manuscript, it's this big. That's how big a manuscript is.
Yes.
Where were you living in New York?
In Albany.
You have your own apartment or your own home?
House.
Do you own or rent?
Own.
When did you purchase it?
My wife, we bought it together. It was in 2009.
So you're married?
Yes.
Have children?
No.
So you and your wife purchased a house in 2009. How much did you pay for the house?
$109,000.
Are you still living there?
Yes.
So you had plenty of room in the house. You had plenty of room for a manuscript, tapes, a manuscript that you were working on. You weren't working on the manuscript long distance. What I'm telling you, Mr. Joseph, is the things that you're suing for are nonsense.
Okay.
If things that you wanted, that a grown-up man, 64 years old, gets if he wants them, it's not that you were homeless. You have a home that you purchased. You went to visit your father 3 times, anything of value. We're not talking about furniture and antiques and a grandfather clock. We're talking about things that can fit in a tissue box.
Yes.
You put them in your suitcase and take them with you if they're valuable.
I couldn't visit California before that because of the conditions of my parole. So the times that I could go, I can go out there, and I had to have...
You told me you went out there 3 times.
Yes.
When your father was alive.
When I had permission to go. So I couldn't, after my father passed away, I couldn't go in the house because that would violate the probate thing, so I had permission to go into the house.
You're not understanding me, Mr. Joseph.
Okay.
You're not understanding me. You went there 3 times after you were out of prison, after you had a home, after you were married. When you went there with a suitcase, don't tell me violating your parole unless you told me that. And in the suitcase should have been, when you returned from California to New York, small things of value that you say were invaluable to you, including a manuscript. Forget the bicycle. Forget the tape-to-tape reel recorder. The tapes that you say were precious to you, if they belong to you, put them in a suitcase. So there's a lot more about this that I don't quite understand. There's a lot about this that I don't quite understand. When your father passed away, who got the house?
The house is...
Your father passed away, what happened to the house?
The house is still in probate.
Oh,
So during the probate thing, I had to have permission to take anything out of the house.
I'm telling you, I've answered your lawsuit, sir.
Okay.
I've answered your lawsuit.
Thank you.
That you're a 64-year-old man, and if something that could fit in a tissue box was that precious to you when you visited your father and you had a home, you would have taken it with you when you left.
Certain things I couldn't take.
This is not a tea dance.
Caption, coming up.
The property has lost this, but I lost a sister in this process.
He said he was.
And it makes no difference of how this go. I lost a sister.
This isn't the probate court. So I would suggest that you all take a deep breath and say, whatever it is, let it be finished.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Donnell, Tina, and Martha.
Donnell Joseph claims his niece, Tina Williams, and his sister, Martha Williams, threw away his personal belongings. Tina and Martha are countersuing for the cost of a cleaning crew.
I asked you if the house is still in probate, which is unfortunate because people didn't take care of the business. Who are the beneficiaries of the sale of the house?
Me, my sister LaWanda, my half-brother Justin Joseph, my sister Sherry's 2 sons.
Okay, let's try to clarify this. Are you the executor of the will?
There's no will. My mom's the
executive.
administrator of the probate.
And I just got to be administrator. We had to go back and forth to court. We had no way of getting in and out of the house because we had no keys.
Okay, and your father, I assume, had no will.
He had no will.
What's the value of the house?
But we don't know because since Martha became the administrator,
Just
we have...
a second, what's the address of the house?
My mom had the house appraised at $250,000.
She's going to tell me.
Sarah.
So the off-market says it's approximating $464,000. It's a 3-bed, 1-bath, 858 square feet.
And the estimate?
The range is between 400 and 515.
Ooh, well, the family has a valuable asset that has yet to be divided after all this time. It's a good lesson for everybody out there. Make a will. Now you can tell me.
Thank you. My grandma, which is their mother, she bought the house on her own with my mom's last name, which is her dad's statement. It's her maiden name, who she was married to. We don't know if they were married. That's what we're going through in probate. It's a process, but the beneficiaries would be Donnell, my mom, and 2 heirs of a deceased sibling. Donnell has also been in jail for most of my life. He hasn't been to California at all, so I wanted to back that up as well.
Well, he's not entitled to anything.
Okay.
If he wanted these items that were valuable to him, he should have taken them during his 64 years.
The most safest place that I had in the world for my value
Well,
to
that's
be
too
held
bad.
was
If
my
you
father.
own a home in New York with your wife and you had an opportunity to take these valuable things because you said you visited with your father after 2009, then you should have taken them. And don't tell me it was the safest place because...
Not only the safest thing, but my father, he lost 2 sons. And the only thing that he had in his house is the things that was left over from his children. And to take anything that was of value away from his children would have hurt my father. So the safest place for all our property.
Mr. Joseph, you don't think you're going to prison hurt your father?
Yes.
Okay,
That's why I changed my life around.
Let's get real. Okay, you're not getting any money here.
Okay.
You're going to wait for probate, and in the probate procedure, which hopefully won't take forever, but it clearly can because people are irresponsible and don't create a will, it is likely that you will have part of the proceeds of this house. Likely. Only because if your mother passed away, and if she was in fact married to your father or lived with him at that time in California, if there was a common law relationship and they did have children together, then you as an offspring would be entitled, if there was no will, to part of the proceeds of this house.
Yes. When she bought the house, she bought it as a married woman. So once she didn't buy it as a single property.
That's something, Mr. Joseph, you don't have to convince me of. You have to convince the probate judge of.
Okay.
You also have a counterclaim that's ridiculous, and I'm not entertaining it. It's really just stupid. Stay with probate. When is the probate proceeding supposed to be finished?
Well, we're going through a mandatory settlement.
One thing I want to say, Your Honor, however this probate is, I wanted to, the property has lost this, but I lost a sister in this process.
He said he was.
And it makes no difference of how this go. I lost a sister. My niece, she's something else, but I love my sister.
This isn't the probate court, Mr.
I love
Joseph.
my sisters.
This is not the probate court, Mr. Joseph. And I suggest that if you love your sister...
She know I love her.
Just a second. If you love your sister, and you're
I don't know how
64
she
years
can do
old,
this to me
and you're 64...
when you know I love you.
Shh, Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph.
Yes.
I know you can get emotional in situations where family is involved, and your sister clearly is sick because she's using oxygen.
Well, I just had liver surgery.
Mr. Joseph, what I'm telling you is, if you have an opportunity in the probate court, I'm actually telling this to both you And Miss Williams, if you have an opportunity at your age and your stage to settle something that gives each of you something, maybe less than you would get if somebody was disinherited, but at this stage in life, at 64 years old, somebody who just had liver surgery and someone who must rely on oxygen in order to breathe, my common sense tells me that what you do is not to give the whole thing away to lawyers who are there sucking up whatever profits there are going to be in this house. Because if the house is worth $200,000, you're going to get a bill for $140,000 for the probate administrator, for the lawyers, and you're going to wind up with zippity-doo-dah. So I would suggest that you all take a deep breath and say, whatever it is, let it be finished. You have no case, Mr. Joseph. Rely on the probate system. I wish you good luck. I said your countersuit's ridiculous. And I'm dismissing.
I have proof.
I want to tell you something. Your countersuit for having to rehire somebody to move is ridiculous. I'm telling you, rely on the probate court. We are done here.
Would you please let me present my countersuit?
No, I read it. I read it. I'm dismissing it on its face. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Donnell, then Martha.
All I can say is I love my sister.
Just the same thing that's happening, nothing.
Whether it's a probate thing or not, that ain't gonna never change.
I don't want to hear anything else.
I'm always loving because that's my sister.
Let the probate court decide it.
Sarah and Judy.
You know, at 25, after doing season 1 of this show, I created and executed a will because this is a situation we've seen far too many times, and it's so unfortunate to see the breakdown of a family over something that could have been prevented had the mother, father, grandfather, grandmother created a will when they were alive to tell the rest of us how they'd prefer their property to be disposed of.
It's fascinating to me that their mother is gone for 50 years. And for 50 years, that title to that house, which is a...
Never got flagged, never was...
Nobody ever thought about it.
Yeah.
And the father lived there for 40 years.
Must have at least paid the taxes and maintenance
because
on it.
Absolutely. And then he's gone, and everybody is in this awful state of limbo. And you know what it is with all those siblings and half-siblings and grandchildren and whatever. Even if the house, she says she had it appraised for $250,000. You looked it up and
it was much more, but it's hard to tell.
$400,000. But even if it is, and it has to be divided with 6 people, that's a substantial chunk of money. But it doesn't look like for either one of them it's life-altering.
Howard for damages and defamation to her pet daycare business.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2173, Langley versus Howard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Langley, your complaint states that you live in a rural area, 13 acres. Your business is pet sitting.
Correct.
The property that you own does not have running water.
Correct.
So all of the water for your property has to be trucked in.
Yes.
The defendant is the owner of?
The owner's wife.
The same thing. They own a water business where they deliver by truck massive amounts of water, and you had used them for a period of time. Prior to Labor Day of 2021, when this incident occurred, how long have you been using the defendants?
Probably about a year.
And how often do they deliver water to your property?
4 times a week. Usually 3 times for the pool and once for the house.
Okay. And each time they came, was that on a set time during the week?
We tried to get a set time, but it varied quite often.
Okay. Would they call before they came?
No.
For the year that you had them, when they came, did you pay them at the time that they came?
Yes, I did. Oftentimes we paid in advance. So we paid for the entire week.
So you either paid in advance or you paid at the time of the delivery?
Yes.
Did you give them a check or cash?
Check.
Now let's get to Labor Day 2021. On what day were they supposed to come?
I believe it was the 4th of September. It was on a Friday.
And who was at home to accept the delivery?
We didn't know when they were coming, but I had taken my employee out to lunch, and I called my nephew, who was there holding down the fort, and told him if they deliver water, let them know I forgot the check, so they can either deliver or come back later.
Well, you live in a rural area. Coming back later is a big inconvenience because you forgot the check.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, it happened that it was a big inconvenience because you went out for lunch and you left a nephew. They came, The check wasn't there, and they left with the water. Now, what time did you come?
I wasn't the one who delivered the water. It was my husband, but I believe he had came.
No, he'll tell me.
Oh, okay.
So this was about a year and a half ago. I don't remember the exact time, but it was an AM delivery because we were going out of town Friday evening, going up north. So I was trying to get done with our route fairly early so that we could get out.
So the first time you came to the house was in the morning?
That's correct.
Not lunchtime?
No, it was probably somewhere around 10 a.m. if I was to guess.
Okay. And when you got there that one time, the nephew was there?
That's correct.
And tell me what happened.
Well, the nephew, for starters, is about 12 years old, and the reason why we don't necessarily have a time frame for businesses is because if it's between business hours, when we show up and if they need water, usually that shouldn't be an issue for the business.
Don't give me a whole story, sir. The nephew was 12 years old, okay, and he was left in charge of the pets.
That's correct.
Okay, so the nephew was left in charge of these animals, and when you came, there was no check. What happened?
It wasn't even about the money, the reason why I left. The reason why I showed up there is he was talking on the phone, and he said, we are not ready for water right now.
He was on his phone?
Yes.
Where did this conversation take place?
Near the pool, the dog pool. And we were actually taking 4,000 gallons. So I brought my big truck. I'd bring 2,000 for the doggy pool and then 2,000 for the house because it was a holiday weekend, so I had to make sure that we got him enough water to last through the holiday weekend.
Okay, and I assume that the plaintiff was satisfied with your service because she had continued with your service for over a year.
Yes, that's correct.
That's according to you. That's according to you. You had been satisfied with their service because if you weren't, you would have found somebody else. But you had been satisfied with their service. According to you, you paid them in advance or on the date of the delivery. On Labor Day, September 4th, you left your 12-year-old nephew there.
12, but...
Well, how old is he, 13?
He's 15.
So what? What's the difference?
Okay, I'm just...
Well, maybe he's 15 now. Maybe he wasn't in 2021. So the nephew said to you, we're not ready for water delivery now.
That's
Is that what you're saying? Now, your business have a phone?
Correct.
Did the plaintiff ever call you and say, I'm home now, I'm sorry, there was a mix-up?
No, so what happened, I showed up there, he wasn't ready for water. I told him, I go, that is...
What do you have to do to get ready for water?
For their purposes, I believe it was to try to use up as much as they can.
No, don't tell me what you believe. I want to know what you have to do to get ready for a water delivery. Do you have to open up a spigot? What do you have to do?
Okay, so basically they're holding tanks that are in basements or in the ground. So normally nobody even has to be there, 90% of our customers. This particular case, one of their tanks is in a basement which doesn't have an alarm. So in order to fill their tank up, somebody has to be down there with a radio to radio up to us to know when to shut the water off.
Okay, so that would have had to have been the nephew who was between the ages of 12 and 15, would have had to have been in the basement.
That's correct.
Okay. And when you came onto the property, he said, we're not ready for a water delivery.
That's correct.
And he would have had to have been in the basement.
That's correct.
So you left?
Yes. Correct.
What happened next?
Your Honor, I told him that it's not that big of a deal. I got a few more stops. I'm going to go do those stops, and then I'll come back. And then hopefully you'll be ready, and your aunt would be ready for water at that time. So I went and did my 2 stops. So I used up another 4,000 gallons. I filled back up. Went back to their house. At this time, it was probably somewhere around 12. And again, he said, we're still not ready for water.
So you went back again at noon?
Between 12 and 1, I would say.
And the plaintiff wasn't home?
That's correct, again.
How many hours passed between the first delivery and the second?
It takes me about 45 minutes per stop, and I know I did about 2 stops, so about an hour and a half it took me before I was back there.
And for that hour and a half, she didn't come back. So it was either a very late breakfast or a very early lunch?
That's correct.
Okay, so now they go twice to deliver water to you, and you're not there, and neither is your check. So now you tell me what happened next.
Kyle called me. First, he doesn't have a phone, but we do have a business line. So he called me on the business line and told me that the driver just left. He goes, I don't know where he went. He said, I think
Who told?
Kyle.
Who was that?
I'm sorry, he's my nephew.
Your nephew called you. What time?
Well, our lunch is...
What? You went before lunch? Because he was there earlier in the morning.
We did not go before lunch. We went 12:30 to 2. The dogs always nap 12:30 to 2. Okay. We separated the dogs.
How many times did they?
We were
5 minutes. How many times did they come to your house to deliver water?
According to what I was told, I wasn't there. 2.
Well, that's what he says. He came twice. We haven't gotten to the third yet, but he came twice to your house, and you weren't there.
Correct.
You're supposed to wait for a service. You're supposed to be there ready for the service. That would be on you. That's not on them, that's on you. They came when they were supposed to deliver water, and you weren't there, and you left somebody who was not equipped to deal with the situation in charge. And what happened was you didn't have water potentially over the holiday weekend because they were going away, so you had to scurry to find other water.
Correct.
That's what this case is about.
Caption coming up.
If your preteen or post-teen nephew was on the telephone, didn't want to be bothered at that moment, that ain't his fault. That's your fault that you left somebody incompetent when you were supposed to get a water delivery. All I'm saying to you is, this is nasty a year later. Nasty.
Brenda smiles. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brenda and Amber and her husband.
Brenda Langley claims business owner Amber Howard defamed her pet daycare business. Amber is countersuing for negative reviews Brenda made toward her business.
Okay, so according to you, a year later, you heard something about their business, so you wrote a negative something about their business on the internet. You'll tell me what that is in a moment. And in retaliation for that, they posted a negative comment about your business, alleging something that had to do with the animals. So that's what this case is about. Your use of the internet to make trouble. You, a year later, according to you, only posted one negative review, is that right?
Correct.
And that was a year later?
Yes. Do you want me to tell you why? Because they take the reviews down. You can't leave it.
All
I tried right away.
All I'm asking you is, I don't want to hear shoulda, woulda, coulda. A year later, you posted a negative review about them. So I'd like to see the review and why you waited a year. You had had a full year of positive service from these people, and the day that you had a problem with them was your fault. I just determined that. It was your fault.
Okay.
So I want to see what you said about them.
Brenda produces a document, then hands it to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
Miss Langley, so I read this thing. It says, funny how this shows up as a recommendation. Apparently, they took the rating system off their page. They were always shorting us on water for the pool. Well, you used them satisfactorily for a year. So I think that that's baloney.
We had a couple run-ins over it.
Once when I complained, the driver said my nephew told him to stop. What is that about? Once when you complained about what?
About the pool being short on water.
Just what did your nephew have to do with them? Your nephew is hardly a teenager. What did your nephew have to do with discussing
Nothing,
things
really.
with the bro?
Nothing. He would help them sometimes bring the hose in and things like that, but he was just a helper every once in a while.
Well, what does that mean?
He didn't have anything to do with it.
Once when I complained, the driver said my nephew told him to stop. Video surveillance proved he was lying. No one ever approached him and no one spoke to him. I showed the owner the video and he didn't seem to care. The last straw was when the owner, that would be them, left for a holiday weekend and we had no water and low pool water. Well, that would be your fault. You don't say that here. It just makes it appear as if they left and left you high and dry, but they came at least twice. He's going to tell me a third time, probably, to deliver water, and you weren't there. When my nephew asked if we could pay next week, he got in his truck and left. That's also your fault.
If you would have communicated, I could have brought the money. We were 5 minutes away.
Just a second. That puts the onus on them. Why weren't you there? This is all on you. This isn't on them. No conversation, no phone call, not even a curse word. I called his wife to find out what happened, and she said they were going out of town for the weekend. And you put in parentheses, too bad. Well, you're allowed to go out. You're allowed to go out for lunch when their delivery is coming without a check, but they're not allowed to go out for Labor Day for the weekend. I immediately called a competitor to bail us out. Thank God he took mercy on us and came out right away. We have had excellent service with the competitor ever since. It could have been catastrophic to try not just to live, but run a business with no water over the holiday weekend. You should have been home to get your delivery. And so,
can I say something?
Sure.
I always paid. They knew I was good for the money, and nobody has to be there when they deliver water. We don't watch them deliver water, except for maybe in the house, and Kyle was there to receive it.
Just a second. He just told me that one of the water tanks is in the basement. Somebody has to be there in the basement in your house. If your preteen or post-teen nephew was on the telephone, didn't want to be bothered at that moment, that ain't his fault. That's your fault that you left somebody incompetent when you were supposed to get a water delivery. All I'm saying to you is, this is nasty a year later. Nasty. And for no reason. I don't hear a reason why this a year later. You want to tell me?
I had heard about some bad business practices, so it got me upset again, so I decided to look and find a way to put a review on. They had taken their reviews off the page. So immediately I wanted to put a review on there, but they have it down as a recommendation.
Who cares?
So that's when I left.
I just still don't understand why a year later you stir this up. So for a year, you were getting water from a competitor. You cut off their system. They seem to be still surviving. You're still in business?
Yes. Yeah.
They're in business without you. You're in business without them.
Right.
Okay. So this is nasty. Okay. Now, as a result of being nasty, they wrote a review about you, which is why you're here.
Yes.
About your business.
Yes.
May I see that review?
About her statement saying that she only gave us one bad review. We have proof that we have multiple bad reviews, not just the one, over that course of a year and a half.
May I see, and I'd like to see them. Did you write more than one negative review? Okay, I'm going to take a look at them.
That's what I posted.
Amber produces a document.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is what I posted right here. I gave you the wrong copy.
She hands it to Kevin, who brings it to Judy for review.
Oh, well, this is a different one where you say last water hauler suggested we had to kiss whatever or they would not show. They rarely answered a call or a text in a timely manner. I was even late to a party posted at my home. I had zero water and couldn't shower, couldn't get in touch with anybody. The last straw was Friday. They dropped us on a holiday weekend and said that they would see us on Tuesday.
I don't think that was a review, Your Honor.
Was this not a review?
I don't believe so.
No, it wasn't a review. It was a comment.
Yep.
It was a comment. Mm-hmm. It was still out there, alive, out there.
Caption, coming up.
So it was really a tit for tat. You got tired?
She wrote that review on my page, so I decided to write a true review about her page.
Perfect. So did I get that all right? Good. A pox on both your houses.
Brenda and Amber grin. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brenda and Amber and her husband.
Brenda Langley has accused business owner Amber Howard of defaming her pet daycare business. Amber claims Brenda created negative reviews a year after their dispute ended.
I'm looking to see what you posted about her.
He's got it.
You go, Judge.
Thank you.
Kevin hands a document to Judy, who reviews it.
Okay. So you posted this on October the 30th, and this is on a Facebook?
Yes.
We used to supply water for the puppy pool here 3 times a week, and our drivers witnessed on multiple occasions the staff mistreating dogs in their care. They would see on multiple occasions dog feces in the pool before they would fill it up. We were going to send our dog there before we knew all this, but I told our dog was too small and they could not accommodate him. Now that I know the kind of business they run, I'm thankful I kept my pet out of their care. I would think twice before sending your beloved pet there. And then Lucky Puppy, that would be you. Funny, I just gave you a poor review on your page. The difference is our review was true. Your review is defamation of character. You can remove your untrue statements or you can be sued. Your choice. So now I'm going to ask you sort of the same question. The incident happened on Labor Day of 2021. October 30th, and that would be of 2022?
Correct.
So between the time that they ceased to be customers of yours and a year later, what happened that caused you to write this negative review?
So as you can see in the evidence I gave you, she all the time was just saying negative things about our business. We never had said anything about her business.
Just a second. So the answer was it was tit for tat.
Correct.
It was tit for tat. She was writing negative reviews about your business. So you wrote, which I just determined were untrue. So you wrote a negative review about her business.
Correct.
A year later, I mean, if you were really concerned about the pets, you would have written it immediately. So it was really a tit for tat. You got tired.
She wrote that review on my page, so I decided to write a true review about her page.
Perfect. So did I get that all right? Good. A pox on both your houses.
May I say something, please?
Sure.
So what she accused us of is illegal.
Just a second.
We have to keep sanitary conditions, and we have
Just a second. How do I know that one of their drivers didn't report seeing feces in the pool? How do I know that?
I've been there before and asked them why they didn't need water that currently week, you know, that they're going to need it, the 2,000 gallons on Wednesday like they normally do. And he said, we just had to get the dogs out just because we realized there was feces in there. They said it happens a few times a year. So it was not a statement.
Whatever. It's their business, madam. Just like this is your business. If you run a dirty place,
I don't. That's the whole thing.
Just a second.
My
they don't run an irresponsible business. In your reviews, you're suggesting that they are irresponsible and also thieves, because in one of your reviews, you say they were shorting us on water.
Yes, they were.
That's what you say. And you said it not only a year later, you said it during the course of the year. And it was their business. Their business is as important to them as yours is to you. So if you're going to weaponize these reviews, then you both deserve what you got. You're not supposed to do that. If you were legitimately concerned about the dogs, you would have reported it right away. What this was tit for tat, so you deserve each other. Claim and counterclaim are dismissed. Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Brenda, then Amber and her husband.
My thing was that they accused us of breaking the law, and it was totally untrue. My statements were true. Whether they were in the wrong or not, they were true statements, and hers were complete fabrication.
I mean, we had been dealing with it for about a year and a half, so I was just really shocked when I received the paperwork in the mail, since I did delete the review, since she did threaten to sue me, so I did delete it.
Look at reviews, and if you can't find them, go somewhere else.
I wanted both of us to be successful businesses, because we live in a small community and our businesses do not, we're not in direct competition with each other. So I wish her well, and I would hope she would wish our business well.
Judy and Sarah.
People like me just learn to look at a restaurant and see what the reviews are. And you sort of assume that people of goodwill, if they're going to post something that's negative, it's because they had a negative experience. And I think it's such a shame that it's become a way to weaponize legitimate reviews where somebody, the plaintiff in this case, had absolutely no clue that the problem on Labor Day was her fault.
Yeah.
She had a perfectly reasonable relationship with him for over a year. She said they paid him in advance. She never said anything about shorting water.
It's just the power of the internet. I mean, now today, I know there are people that will cancel businesses for reasons completely unrelated to the business, but if you act out, you say the wrong thing, you display a negative character trait in public, people will go to your business's page completely unrelated to anything in the business and just flood the page. I'm talking thousands. They will get thousands of people to write bad reviews about a business, especially if something went viral or if the owners of the business, if they were in a viral video that was not nice. It's the power of the internet and cancel culture.
Well, the internet can be a tool for good and wonderful, or as we know, it can be a very dark place.
Yep.
But it can't be a very dark place without mean-spirited or bad people. Yeah. And there are mean-spirited and bad people. I don't know how you protect yourself from something like that. I really don't know how you protect yourself.
The consumer has to be smart in reading the reviews and how much weight they're giving reviews. I like when businesses respond to especially the negative reviews. And
wages and filing a false restraining order.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Case 2140, DeTorres versus Young.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. DeTorres, according to your complaint, you did some work for the defendant as a plumber. Didn't work out, and he terminated you, and he owes you some wages.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that while your work in the beginning was okay, you were never an employee of his. You're an independent contractor. That's the way he sets it up, and he's going to explain that to me. That he paid you your wages, even though the last job that you did cost him an awful lot to repair. He was not happy with the quality of work that you did, and his counterclaim is for vandalism, something that happened with his truck, work hours lost due to your incompetence. That I'm not going to hear, sir. You know, you make a choice with an employee, and if it turns out to be something that is less than satisfactory, then you let them go. But the one who I assume suffered from what you call lack of quality work that he performed was the person that you were working for. Was that a private residence that he was doing work in?
Yes. Yeah, a bunch of private residents.
Yeah, that's the person who suffered.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we're going to make this as easy as possible. From what days to what days did you work?
I worked for Chad from June 13th to August 3rd.
And how much were you supposed to be paid?
For those 3 days, $840.
And that's for 3 days' work?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you say June 13th?
Yes, ma'am.
To August 3rd?
Correct.
Well, that's more than 3 days.
No, his wage he owes me from August 1st to August 3rd is what he did not pay me for.
Okay, and where did you work during those days?
Multiple residents.
Okay, do you have any sort of a call log from him?
I do. It's right here in my
Do you dispute that he worked from August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd?
Yes.
You dispute that
There was one day he actually did one of my jobs for a couple hours that day.
Doesn't matter. He has a log.
Half a day for one day.
Did you pay him for that half day?
I did not, because the job was done incorrectly multiple times.
But he did that job. Okay, now, do you have a log?
As in?
It's some sort of a work log. You have a business. You have people who are general contractors. You get a call. You don't have a payroll because you pay these people independently. Do you pay them in cash or check?
Both.
Well, how did you pay him?
Sometimes it was through a cashier's check and sometimes it was cash.
Okay, but never through a company check where you deducted Social Security.
No, because I 1099 all my employees, so they're all self-employed, so they have to do all that on their own.
I do understand. I mean, you're not the inventor of this whole system, sir, of paying in cash. Okay. Are you one of those independent contractors?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. How long have you been an independent contractor?
I've been contracted with Chad since July 5th.
Of what year?
This year, 2022.
Oh, so short term.
Yes, ma'am.
Does he pay you in check or cash? No, look at me.
Check it first, and then later on it became through Venmo, and then it's gone back to check now.
What kind of check?
Cashier's check.
Just a straight cashier's check with nothing taken out?
No, ma'am.
No, I go to my bank to get all that.
What?
I go to my bank to get the cashier's checks, and sometimes I Venmo him the payment too, just to pay.
I understand, but sir, you're not the first person who I know who pays their people in cash and says that you're independent contractors. You're independent contractors. I don't want to know about it. What name do you use for the cashier's checks?
My personal name.
Is this the first time you've worked for him?
Yes.
Okay, let me see what you have for August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Where did you work? Come on.
There were multiple residents, ma'am.
Well, you have to tell me so that he can answer. He said that you worked half a day that he didn't pay you for.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's say that's a full day. So that's $200.
Okay. See, he would email it on his work phone, and I'd follow the addresses there.
Well, then you would have it on your phone.
My short notes on this.
Just a second. Then you would have it on your phone.
It was his company phone. He took it back when he came to my house unannounced and told me that I was fired. Redeemed his truck. Got my tools out of his vehicle.
Okay, just a second. Do you have your phone?
I do. I have my personal one that I.
What about the phone that you took from him?
No, that one's actually broke, so it's been with Timo for the past week.
Let me see the notes that you have that you took.
Yes, ma'am.
Jeremy hands a notepad to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Fascinating.
It's my shorthand, ma'am.
How do I know what dates these are for?
It was all on his phone, ma'am.
Well, that's not him to have to prove, sir.
I wasn't able to prove anything when he took his phone back. I just had that's the notes when I was employed for him, as I wrote down.
It's not helpful to me.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, the only thing that he's acknowledged is that he owes you a day's wages.
Yes, ma'am.
Just $210. The other part of your complaint is a false restraining order against you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you file a restraining order against him? Do you have a copy of what you wrote in your restraining order?
I do.
I'd like to see it.
Chad hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
So what got me that restraining order is he called and made threats and made
Was
threats.
this after you fired him?
It was.
Okay, so after you fired him, he called you.
Made threats.
Well, what did he say when he called you?
Just basically talking about, I'm going to come to your house and everything.
He wanted money.
I guess, yeah.
He said, you didn't pay me.
Yeah.
Okay. You say you got a text message and voicemail from Jeremy threatening to come to my place of residence.
Yes.
Can I hear it?
Yeah. Do you want me to play it, or do you want to look at it?
I want to look at it.
Okay.
So, Mr. Torres, did you, after he fired you and came to your residence, took your house, did you call him threatening to come to his house?
I did.
You did?
With the police. It says it on these text messages, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to take his phone and those text messages.
Kevin brings documents and Chad's phone to Judy.
There's more text. That's just the one where he said he'd send me my money.
That's the voicemail, if you want me to play it for you. Sometimes the transcription doesn't work.
Yeah.
You want me to play it?
Just.
Sarah presses a button on Chad's phone.
Hey, bro. I definitely worked more than 9 hours for the last week that I worked for you. I'll be contacting my... Play with me. I'll show up at your house.
Yeah, that's a threat.
With the police.
Just a second. That's a threat.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I've had more.
That's a threat.
I had more incidents before that as well.
May I say something, ma'am? He accused me of going into his gated community, slashing tires on his work vehicle. I stated that I was going to come to his house after, if you read my text, I said to him, hey, bro, I think I misunderstood your text message. If I did, my bad. If not, I'll show up at your house with the police. I never went to his house. I waited to see if he'd be the big man and just send me my money like he said he would.
I listened to the message, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
The message sounded threatening.
Did you read the rest of them?
I don't care. That message sounded threatening.
Caption coming up.
Where does it say here that his tires were slashed?
In my mind, somebody writing that against me, flattened tires, what else would it be?
But you have to understand that that's not what this says.
And later today.
I was financially struggling.
Well, you weren't living together at the time.
No, she would periodically come over and
yeah, but you weren't living together at the time. So how would she find out that you were in financial trouble?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jeremy and Chad.
Jeremy DeTorres claims his former employer, Chad Young, owes for unpaid wages and filing a false restraining order.
Okay, that message alone, if he felt threatened because you were going to come to his house, and you not only said you were going to come to his house, but you used an expletive before you did that, which sounded threatening. This may be more benign, but that phone message was sufficient for him to file for a protective order against you.
Okay, why didn't he show up at the protective custody order?
I don't answer your questions.
No,
you don't necessarily.
Absolutely.
Some people don't pursue it because once it's done, it's done.
It wasn't done.
And once it's done,
This is the dismissal right here. Dismissal for the
No, I didn't show up. I understand he didn't show up, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm saying to you, I listened to your text message, and he had an absolute right to see.
Can you see where he threatened me as well with all these back and forth texts and calling each other? Because it's in the text
You're
messages.
suing him for money owed for wages and filing a false restraining order.
Okay.
You've proven that you worked an additional day for which he didn't pay you, which is $210. He has a counterclaim. Yeah. He says that you vandalized the tires on his car. The rest of it, I'm not dealing with, sir. You picked this employee. You don't then sue the employee if you don't like the job that they do. You fire them and you get somebody else to do the job. But you can't sue him because did the person who you did the job for sue you?
No, because I've got a really good reputation with my customers.
Because you fixed it. Because it wasn't done right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even up to that last day I said he worked for me, that job I had to go back to 2 weeks ago that they couldn't close on the house.
And next time you won't hire him. Yeah. Maybe other people won't either. But I want you to tell me about the tires. I want you to tell me what proof do you have that he had anything to do with your tires? When were the tires slashed, flattened?
So the police report was done Friday when he made the threats.
Friday, what date?
I got the date right here. I think it was
August 5th.
Yeah, so August 5th is when he did it.
August 5th is when?
The police report was made for the threats.
For the threat, for the voicemail?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so it was the end of the day Friday, so court's closed for the weekend.
August 5th?
Yep. And then Monday, the 8th, I went outside to go to work. My tires were slashed in the end. At that point, I realized it was just over and done, and I need to go down and get a restraining order so people can't come onto my, my property.
Because
area.
you believed it was the plaintiff who was responsible. You believed you didn't have proof at the time.
Yes.
You didn't have proof.
Again, and even in my injunction, I knew all I needed was this police report to get the injunction, so I just put in my police report.
You're not talking about an injunction. You're talking about a restraining order.
Yeah, the restraining order. Yeah.
Okay.
I went to file the restraining. So in my restraining order, I put just my tires were flat. I did not put my tires were slashed at any point because I knew the police report was enough to get the restraining order.
Okay, your
so I
tires
didn't go
were
in
flat.
detail about my tires.
Okay, so in the police report, you have that your tires were flattened.
No, that wasn't on the police report because that didn't happen yet. The tire incident did not happen.
Okay.
That happened Friday. Monday morning, I went out in my vehicle to go to work. That's when I found them flat and slashed.
Did you file another police report?
That's when I went and filed the restraining order that day.
Okay, and in the application for a restraining order, you said?
That my tires were flat, and that was it.
Yes, okay.
I didn't mention that they were slashed.
Correct.
So I don't know how he would know my tires were slashed if I didn't mention it on my restraining order.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. Mr. DeTorres. Mr. DeTorres, stop your paper fluttering.
Okay.
What made you think that the defendant's tires were slashed rather than just the air let out of them?
Because I read this police report and it has a mark right here saying, or the file that he did.
Show me, and make a circle.
Right here, damaged property is what I read. He checked that I damaged his property because this is written against me.
Mr. DeTorres, do you understand my question, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm nervous in the
Just
flight.
a second. This has nothing to do with nerves,
You're
Mr.
right.
DeTorres.
Well, I had no sleep last night.
That has nothing to do with sleep.
As far as not being...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm asking you, Mr. DeTorres, is where does it say here that his tires were slashed?
In my mind, somebody writing that against me, flattened tires, what else would it be? He lives in a gated community.
Well, that could be...
Where's the surveillance showing me that my leg injury, the way I walk, is very distinctive, okay? If he's got proof that I slashed or flattened his tires, I said slashed. It's the same thing as flattened in my mind. That's the way I think. The way I read that, that's just how it came out of my mouth.
But you have to understand that that's not what this says.
Okay, it says that I damaged his property.
He said damaged his property, and you said slashed tires.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
How much were the tires?
$450.
Let me see the receipt.
I do not have a receipt because I pay cash for my tires.
Well, that's too bad. You better stop paying cash, sir. You can pay cash for tires.
Yeah.
But when you buy tires with cash and you want to sue for them, you get a receipt.
Yeah.
From the people. And if you know you're coming to court, we're not talking about things that happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You were coming to court today.
I went back to the tire shop and he's like, we just, we always do cash for all your vehicles. And
well, what do you mean cash for all your vehicles? That means you get a receipt. All right, your counterclaim's dismissed because you have no proof of anything. On the complaint, sir, I'm awarding you $210, which is 1 day's pay. Thank you very much. This case is over.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Chad, then Jeremy.
The work just wasn't up to the quality that he promised he was going to offer.
It is what it is.
That's just his nature. That's always been his nature.
The judgment is what the judgment is. She felt like I was only awarded a day's pay, and that's what she gave me.
Keep doing what I do. That's all I can do every day.
Judy and Sarah.
Well, Sarah Rose, that is the perfect example of you're supposed to have proof when you come to court.
Yep. Standard of proof exists for a reason.
I know that when I go someplace, and sometimes I pay cash. So even if you pay cash for something,
there's some
or Venmo,
record. Venmo
you're supposed to get a receipt in the event that you want to use whatever you bought and use that fact that you purchased something in a subsequent lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as sending a gift. If you send somebody a gift, you keep the receipt until you know that they got the gift.
Yeah.
Then you take it and you throw it away. It's just
good bookkeeping. It's good record keeping.
And he's a business guy.
Yeah.
He's a business guy. Didn't make sense to me, but clearly plaintiff for somebody who has a little trouble.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Case 2137, Weiss versus Light. All parties, please step forward.
Caitlin Weiss is suing her ex-boyfriend, Cody Light, for unpaid loans.
Ms. Weiss, the defendant was a boyfriend of yours for a period of time.
Correct.
And you allege a couple of loans. One from a year and a half ago, the balance of a $200 loan, he paid you back $100.
Yes.
Quite frankly, I'm not interested in what happened a year and a half ago.
Caption, coming up.
What you say is, I need time to catch up.
It was a verbal conversation.
Well, what's in writing is you saying to her, I can make payments to you. But the thing that you don't have in writing is where she gave the loan. Is that right?
Cody nods and shrugs. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Caitlin and Cody.
Caitlin Weiss claims her ex-boyfriend, Cody Light, is refusing to pay back loans she gave him during their relationship.
Okay, in March of this year, you allege that you gave him money. He was still your boyfriend in March of this year, is that right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
And in March of this year, he had gotten a car. What kind of car did you get?
It was a Buick Regal.
What year?
A 2004, I believe.
Where did you get it from?
I got it from a private seller.
How much did you pay for it?
$850.
Needed fixing.
Yes.
And you didn't have money for parts.
I did for the first round of parts.
But you didn't for the second?
After the first ones failed, I did not.
And how much did you need for parts?
That I don't remember.
Who bought them?
Miss Weiss did.
Did she buy them on a credit card?
I believe so, yes.
And you have no idea what you paid for those parts?
I don't remember.
But that would be in March of 2022.
It would have been in April.
Did you pay for the parts by credit card?
Yes, I paid between Cash App transactions that were transferred to Mr. Light through Cash App, which I have present here.
I'd like to see proof of them. What do they total?
They totaled up to $920.
Does that sound about right, Mr. Lippy?
That's about right.
Okay. And tell me about the discussion that you had with her when she paid for these parts.
There was a discussion of how I was going to pay her back.
And what did you tell her?
I did agree at that time.
And then what happened?
There were then later discussions as we were still in a relationship and I was in financial troubles that she told me not to worry about it.
This $920 was a loan in April of 2022. That's what you say. It was in April, not March.
Correct.
And then you say at some point she forgave that loan.
Right.
Tell me when that happened.
Shortly after the car got back together, which would have been in May. I was financially struggling.
Well, you weren't living together at the time?
No, she would periodically come over and
yeah, but you weren't living together at the time. So how would she find out that you were in financial trouble?
I mean, we were at that state in our relationship where she knew basically my financials all the time.
When did the two of you break up?
I believe that was in June.
So shortly after you say she forgave the loan.
That is correct.
Did you ever forgive this $920 loan?
No, I did not. Brennan Black was there the day that I had confronted Cody at a car meet and had offered him a short little payment of $790 where Cody said he would do it in payments.
Just a minute. You broke up in June.
Correct.
He says that you had a conversation before that, sometime in May, where you knew he was in financial difficulty. Did you ever have that conversation with him?
No, that is incorrect. I do have statements here to prove it as well.
I'd like to see them.
Caitlin hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews a transcript of a text exchange.
So then you said he owed you $970. He had been giving you some money?
Yes, he had been giving me a little
It says, so that puts you at $670, okay? That's what you wrote.
Correct. He had been giving me money periodically throughout the beginning of the car parts.
Okay, but it says, so that puts you at $670, okay?
Yes, there's more transactions on the Cash Apps as well.
Oh, after that?
Yes, correct. Sorry.
No, sir. What you say is I need time to catch up. There's no forgiving here unless you have some...
It was a verbal conversation.
Well, what's in writing...
Right.
What's in writing is you saying to her, I need some time to catch up. I can make payments to you. All of that is in writing. But the thing that you don't have in writing is where she gave the loan. Is that right?
He shrugs.
Yeah. $920. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done here. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Cody, then Caitlin.
it is what it is.
I think it was fair. Mr. Lake did owe me money, and he got what he deserved.
Yes, she lent me the money, but at the same time, she was helping me out in a relationship, and she knew I was struggling.
He said he was going to pay me back and never followed through even after that.
There were discussions about her telling me not to worry about it.
Not to trust so much.
I'm never going to do it again.
Oh, that's going to be a contract.
Judy and Sarah.
She was very prepared.
Oh, she was to the point, knew exactly what she needed.
And she had all of her evidence.
Yep.
All
just the way we like it.
All lined up. It's unfortunate when a loan becomes a gift and a gift then becomes a loan when the romance is over. These writings are always so helpful, and these text messages really are making my life much easier.
And one thing that I mention a lot is with Cash App or Venmo, always state if you're paying someone money, don't just send the money, put in the subject line. They have a subject line on those for a reason, for this car part, for this tow, for this XYZ the other. So I always, when using Venmo or Cash App or something like that in an online transfer system, I'll send the money, and then in the transaction, you can...
From a dog attack.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2002, Kwan versus Lancaster.
Mr. Kwan, succinctly, your case involves an attack of a dog that was being walked by Miss Lancaster. She was dog walker. She didn't own the dog.
Correct.
Dog got away from her, and according to you, attacked your dog, and you want to be compensated to the tune of $10,000.
Correct.
You were neither hospitalized, correct?
I was not hospitalized.
You were neither hospitalized, and your dog was not hospitalized.
Correct.
I assume that you have some medical evidence as a result of this incident to show me that you suffered from a dog bite.
Yes.
Okay. And the dog bite was from the dog that was being walked by Miss Lancaster.
Walked is, I'm not sure if I would use the term.
She's a dog walker.
Yes,
She's
but it was
dog
off
walker.
leash.
She's not the owner of the dog.
Correct.
The incident happened at what date and time?
December 22nd, 2021 at approximately 1:30 p.m.
And you were walking your dog, which is what breed?
A 20-pound wiener dog mix.
And you were a dog walker. How long had you been in charge of walking this dog?
At that point, it was about a week.
What kind of dog was it?
I believe it was a boxer mix. Not 100% sure.
How old?
2, 3 years old, give or take.
Who are the owners of the dog?
The owners, I can't remember their name. One of Mike, but I don't remember their last names. But
you remember the owners' names?
Yes.
And it would be fair to say that you knew their names because you tried to sue them.
I contacted them, yes, but did not sue them.
And you contacted them because they're the owners of the dog and they have a house. Mm-hmm. Is not an answer.
Yes.
And a house usually has homeowners insurance.
Correct.
Correct? And after contacting them, and it's their dog, so they are ultimately responsible for their dog, you opted not to seek compensation for your alleged injuries and this attack, but to sue the dog walker.
Correct.
Just for my own information, Mr. Kwan, do you want to tell me why you did that?
Yeah. So per California strict liability law, anybody who takes physical ownership or responsibility for a dog is also responsible for any sort of attacks or damages it causes while they are responsible for that dog. Regardless
okay, just a second. So what you're saying is in the state of California, if you are walking a dog, and she says she was walking this dog for a week, how many times a day, every day?
2 times a day.
Twice a day. And she had this job for a week, that under all circumstances, she is responsible for any injury that the dog does. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
And what code is that?
I have a statute over here.
Just tell me the statute.
Per California dog bite law. I don't have the number, but I can bring it up to the,
Would you bring it up?
The court.
It's California Civil Code 3342.
Do you have it?
I could pull it up. I have my notes.
Could you pull it up for me? And I'll come back to you in a second, Sarah. I'm just curious about it. Okay, now let's tell me about the incident, sir.
Sure. So at the time that I described earlier, I was walking my 20-pound wiener dog mix while my mother walked my infant son, who was 3 months at the time, in a stroller.
Care.
Okay.
I mean, it's not that I don't care about him and I don't care about your mother, but they have nothing to do with this case.
Well, they do have something to do with this case because when we turned onto the block, I turned and I saw an off-leash dog roughly 3 times the size of mine. and I saw the defendant, Ms. Lancaster. She gave no warning that the dog was off leash, and at that point, I later learned that the dog...
No, don't tell me, just tell me what happened, sir.
Okay.
You saw Miss Lancaster, and she was walking this dog off leash.
Correct.
And?
She gave no indication?
No, not that she gave me no indication. Okay. She was walking this dog off leash.
Correct.
So you saw the dog off leash.
Yes.
Okay.
And
about how far were you from her when you saw the dog off leash?
Across the street, so roughly 40 feet.
Okay, and?
The dog charged across the street.
Okay, the dog ran across the street.
Yes, and started aggressively biting, lunging, and barking at my dog.
Okay, so at that point, the dog ran across the street and is in an aggressive stance barking at your dog.
Correct.
Hadn't touched your dog.
Correct.
Okay, what happened next?
It then diverted its attention towards my infant son in a stroller and my mother and started jumping on the stroller.
Did the dog, in fact, jump on the stroller?
Yes.
And
my response was to try to divert the attention.
What did you do? The dog jumped on the stroller.
Yes.
Didn't hurt your son, didn't hurt your mother.
Yes. So I got the attention of the dog again.
How did you do that?
By picking up my dog, who was on leash.
Well, that doesn't necessarily get attention of the dog. You say, hey!
Correct.
No.
Correct.
But you didn't say that. You just picked up your dog.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Probably exclaimed in
No.
attention of the dog.
You told me what you did. You picked up your dog and
started running across the street.
Started running across the street in the direction of where the dog had come from?
Correct.
And at that time, the dog was on the other side of the street.
Yes.
So let me understand this. You pick up your dog. Your mother is standing behind you in the stroller with your son. You leave your mother, your son on one side of the street, and you grab your wiener dog mix and run across the street.
Correct. This was after I got the attention of the dog, by the way.
Okay. So now you got the attention of the dog.
Yes.
Ran across the street, so you were trying to divert the dog's attention, and the dog followed you.
Yes, it chased me.
Good. And you were running in her direction?
No. The Miss Lancaster had crossed the street at that point to where we were originally walking.
She was on your side of the street. You were going back to where you had initially seen her.
Correct.
Okay, so she had followed her dog across the street.
Yes.
Was she saying anything?
We made repeated pleas to ask for her to control the situation.
She ran across the street, because all this happened within seconds.
Yes.
She ran across the street. Was she saying anything to the dog?
She was yelling, "I'm so sorry, and I can't do anything."
Okay, is that what you were yelling?
I think I was yelling, "I'm so sorry, I don't know what to do," because I was in an extreme state of panic. I was probably having a panic attack.
I'm so sorry, I don't know what to do. Okay, and?
And after I ran across the street, when the dog chased me, I fell down. The dog ended up biting me on my left arm.
Okay, and I'd like to see whatever medical report you have from the bite on your left arm.
So the doctor said that...
No, don't tell me what the doctor said.
I haven't...
Could I see?
I have a picture.
May I see
Absolutely.
A medical... Did you understand my words? I said, may I see a medical report
I do not
from
have
a
a medical
doctor.
report.
So you didn't go to the doctor? The question is, did you go to the doctor, Mr.
I did
Korn?
a virtual doctor's visit because this was during the height of the pandemic.
And what was the name of the doctor with whom you had a virtual visit?
I do not remember.
Should remember. You're suing for $10,000. You should have all that information. Because if you have a virtual medical visit, Mr. Kwan, there is a record of that. Doctor keeps a record of that. Do you understand?
Correct.
Okay. So now you're down, and this happened, according to you, on December 22nd. Did you get the dog's information?
I did.
On December 22nd?
Yes.
When did you speak to the owners of the dog?
I spoke to the owners actually that day because I wanted to get the rabies vaccination paperwork.
Did you get the rabies vaccination paperwork?
Yes.
On the 22nd?
Yes.
Now I'll see your photograph, sir.
I have that statute whenever you're ready.
I got it. Timing is everything.
Sarah grins at Judge Judy. Kevin hands Judy a photo of a leg with contusions on it. She dons her glasses, then examines it.
Okay, so the knee injury is when you fell.
Correct.
And the arm is a combination scratch and maybe tooth mark.
Yes, there are tooth marks on there, but not punctured.
Well, I don't know. This long thing is not a tooth mark. So just one other question, Mr. Kwan. When You told the owners about this on the 22nd. When was the next time you contacted them? First, you wanted to find out whether or not the dog had received rabies shots. You were satisfied that it did, that you didn't have to see a doctor other than a virtual visit with a doctor whose name you don't remember. When did you decide not to sue the owners of the dog, who are homeowners, and who have homeowners insurance?
Yep, I wrote the owners of the dog a demand letter, and that is when I contacted them back, probably about 2 months after the incident.
Okay, so you wrote them a demand letter?
Correct.
And did they respond to your demand letter?
Yes.
Do you have copies of those letters?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see copies of your letter and their response.
Derek hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
That's the demand letter that I
just want to see copies of your letter and their response. Are they both here?
They did. They responded by calling me on the phone, not with a formal written statement.
Really?
Caption coming up.
Through a series of conversations, I decided that my grievance was not towards them because they were not exhibiting negligence in this situation.
Oh, no, I don't believe that, Mr. Kwan. Be very careful about what you say to me, sir.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Derek and Danielle.
Derek Kwan claims dog walker Danielle Lancaster owes for injuries resulting from a dog attack.
Okay. Well, you say the dog's a pit bull. The dog was a pit bull?
I believe so.
Dog a pit bull?
I asked after the incident. I did ask as well if it was a pit bull. They said no, it's a boxer mix.
You have a video of the incident. You have a video. Somebody has a video.
Yeah.
Correct.
Someone's Ring camera.
Okay. I'm going to allow you to tell me what the owner said in the conversation that they had with you. I'm not accepting it for the truth of the statement, only that you had a conversation with them, which is why you brought this action against Miss Lancaster today.
Correct.
So they decided, we're not going to put this in writing, we're going to call Mr. Kwan.
Correct.
And what did they tell you?
They were very amicable about the situation, and we're trying to solve the situation to make me whole.
Being amicable is subjective. I want you to tell me what you said to them and what they said to you.
What they said to me was that they would look into their homeowner's insurance policy in order to compensate me. Through a series of conversations, I decided that my grievance was not towards them because they were not exhibiting negligence in this situation.
Oh, no, I don't believe that, Mr. Kwan. Be very careful about what you say to me, sir. As between homeowners who have insurance and this young woman who has to walk dogs for a living, if I was somebody interested in $17,000, I wouldn't sue her. I would sue somebody who had, Kathy Bates said in one of my favorite movies, I'm older and I have more insurance. So that answer that you just gave me was a whole lot of who shot John. The reason you decided not to proceed against the dog's owners is what?
The reason why I proceeded not to go against the dog's owners is because I have because some things are more important than money. And in this situation, I have more of an issue with the dog walker and her behavior during this situation rather than being compensated.
Well, let me suggest this to you, Mr. Kwan. There is no question that if Miss Lancaster was walking this dog and the dog was off leash, she was negligent. There's also no question in my mind that the extent of your damages is excessive. Very excessive. So.
But we're only counting physical damages.
Just a second. What I'm telling you is the amount of your damages is excessive. And if you wanted anywhere near that money, you could have sued both people. You could have sued the owner of the dog, as not only did they have the dog that attacked you, but they have, as Kathy Bates would say, insurance. And you would join the defendant as a party to that action. You would say you're all responsible. You own the dog, which you say was a pit bull, which you say was a pit bull, who just mauled and killed somebody in New York last week. An owner. You didn't do that, so I'm not getting all of this kumbaya business that the person responsible. Do you understand?
Yeah,
I'm just not buying it, Mr. Kwan. We understand each other?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. For somebody who has no medical, you had injuries, and you have to be compensated. You had no good excuse for walking the dog off leash.
I wasn't walking him off leash. When I was in the house happened, I had a key on the other side of the door. When I reached for that key, he scooted as hard as I could between my legs and got out. It wasn't that I was walking him and just decided to take him off the leash.
So you were negligent in letting the dog out?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the dog had also been out for an hour at the time of the incident.
Yeah, because when I was trying to get him back in, but many attempts, he was very hard to get in, and at that point, I was already having a panic attack, very emotional.
No. Okay. Now, Miss Lancaster, let's get it together. Let's get it together. Mr. Kwan says that the dog was out for a period of time, and you weren't chasing the dog when he first saw you. You were in a walking mode. So the dog may have initially gotten out. Miss Lancaster, you know, I'm an ecumenical abuser. Were you out with the dog for a period of time?
Yes.
Did you have a leash in your hand?
I think
is not an answer. Did you have a leash in your hand?
No.
How long were you out with the dog?
Probably around an hour at that point.
Okay.
I was trying to get him back in, and twice I did have him by the collar, and wasn't having it.
You didn't have him by the collar when he ran across the street?
No, but before then I did.
don't care what happened before then.
Okay.
Before then, I was 21 years old, and I looked great in a bikini. Now, not so much. All right, Mr. Kwan, this letter was written to Miss Lancaster.
Correct.
I asked you for the letter that you wrote to the owners of the dog.
I do not have that with me right now.
Could we key up this video that I understand we have?
Video footage appears of a dog chasing Derek. The dog attacks him. He falls.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You can see my mother and infant son fleeing.
I am so sorry.
Call the person out. He bit me.
I know I will because he bit me too. I know.
Just grab him by the neck.
I can't. He bit me twice on my hand already. I don't know what to do. It's been an hour. I seriously don't know what to do. He bit me twice already. And I tried to get him on the leash, and he bit me twice. I don't know what to do. I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
Can I see the beginning of that and see if you can freeze frame on the dog, please? By the way, you do have a leash in your hand.
Yeah, I just realized. Yeah, I do have the leash actually. So
I'm going to walk over to the monitor.
Judy rises from the bench and approaches the video monitor. She examines the freeze frame of the dog, then returns to the bench.
So although the statute uses the word owner, there's vicarious liability if someone else assumed responsibility of the dog, even though the statute is clear, it only lists the word owner. But in California, they could be held liable through vicarious liability, a walker.
A walker.
That assumed responsibility for the animal.
Okay.
Caption coming up.
He neither suffered serious physical injury, certainly not serious enough for him not to go to work for a week, unless you model Bermuda shorts. You don't model Bermuda shorts, do you, Mr. Kwan?
Just in my spare time.
Of course not.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Derek and Danielle.
Derek Kwan says dog walker Danielle Lancaster owes for damages after he was attacked by the dog Danielle was walking.
Okay, so, Miss Lancaster, it does appear to me that you were sort of overwhelmed by this dog.
yes,
But
very much.
bottom line is that Mr. Kwan was injured and frightened, not seriously injured, but seriously enough that if it were me, I would be furious as a result of your negligence. And he neither suffered serious physical injury, certainly not serious enough for him not to go to work for a week. I don't know what kind of work you do, but not serious enough unless you, I don't know, unless you model Bermuda shorts. You don't model Bermuda shorts, do you, Mr. Kwan?
Just in my spare time.
Of course not. And you had no medical bills because you didn't see a doctor, but you were attacked. And I actually don't know why you didn't sue the owners of this dog, which looks scarcely like any boxer I've ever seen. And it is possible in California that certain dogs are not insurable. I don't know the answer to that question. It will not insure you in a homeowner's policy if you have a certain kind of dog. Are you familiar with that, sir?
Yes.
What are you familiar with? You're very familiar with statutes. So what is the law in California with regard to insurance? Can you be denied insurance or have to pay an excess premium if you have a dog that is either a pit bull or a pit bull mix?
I believe so.
You believe so. And would it be a fair statement, sir, that their homeowners either covered their dog or didn't?
They were looking into it, and they had renter's insurance that I believe covered it.
That you believe covered it? Oh, very foolish of you not to go against them. Okay. If you accept responsibility for a dog, you're supposed to be smart enough to look at a dog and say, you know what, why would you ask what kind of dog this is? Now, you let the dog out, and the dog was out with you for an hour.
Yes, yeah.
And during that time, you were walking around the neighborhood, and you had sufficient opportunity. You were walking around the neighborhood.
I wouldn't say walking. I was
were you doing?
Clearly trying to get the dog back in, and twice I did have him by the collar, and that's what I said in the video. I had him by the collar, and then both times he turned to nip at me on my wrist, so which is why I let go, because I didn't want to get bit.
I know, you said it.
So I was trying to have him follow me, which is what the owners told me to do. I had treats in my hand.
So you called the owners?
Yes, I did call
you called the owners, and you told the owners what was going on?
Yes, I did. They knew what was going on.
I would have sued the owners. Mr. Kwan, I would have absolutely sued the owners, unless they didn't have insurance that covered the dog, which is a problem for them if they had renter's insurance. In any event, Miss Lancaster, you assumed responsibility of this dog, and based upon your own negligence, forget about the dog's breed, forget about these other people. As a result of your negligence, he was injured, and you have to compensate him for that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. We're finished.
Court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Danielle, then Derek.
I don't think he even got bit.
The doctor said that most of my injuries were emotional, but I did receive a bite from the dog onto my arm, but not a puncture wound.
I think he just, wanted some extra cash from me because I was probably an easier target.
Even though I didn't have any physical injuries, who knows how long my night terrors will last for.
I was literally having the whole panic attack, which is why, I had the reaction I did.
Yeah, I totally understand that, but the dog was off leash for an hour. She could have called the police or animal control during that time.
Don't open the door even in the slightest to a dog. Just wait till, they're away and gone.
Mostly my MO is getting back at those that I have grievances against.
Judy and Sarah.
Let's not even get started with dog breed, because I think the world knows where I live in that street. Mm-hmm. And 10 days ago, a woman who was watching a pit bull for one of her children, 64-year-old woman, her husband came home from work and found the dog eating her in the backyard. Sadly, she died. And there are certain breeds that are more dangerous than others. People have to recognize that. And if you choose to get a dog that is potentially more dangerous, Sarah, and I know that there are pit bull lovers out there and say, mine is the sweetest, mine is the loveliest, but then you have to accept responsibility if there's an issue. And clearly this dog was an issue because I believe this young woman. Mm-hmm. Didn't you believe her?
I believed her, and I think that dog walkers should also be cautious of what animals they're choosing to walk, because she could be held vicariously liable. So you might want to stick to 5-pound chihuahuas from now on, maybe.
Right. I mean, she was visibly very upset. Visibly, and she said on the video, he bit me twice on the hand because she tried to get a hold of him. But she was still out with the dog for an hour. But he was, in fact, injured. And whether he went to the hospital or not, that's pretty...
Berg for a false claim leading to his arrest.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Be seated, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge.
Why are you, Kevin?
Case 2201, Parkinson versus Burke.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Brian.
Mr. Parkinson, you are suing the defendant, alleging that she caused you to be falsely arrested.
That is correct.
The defendant has a counterclaim. Her counterclaim is based upon the same incident for which you were arrested. She's claiming that you placed both herself and her passenger in her car in fear because you displayed erratic behavior and threatened them with a gun. And I gather that you two live in a gated community. Is that correct? Where is that?
Arkansas.
How long have you lived there?
8 years.
And you?
26 years.
This incident occurred on what date, sir?
June 7th.
Of last year?
Yes.
You were driving what kind of car, Mr. Parkinson?
A gray Toyota Tundra.
Sir, I think I know what that looks like. Could you bring that up for me so that I can see? A Toyota Tundra.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a little car. That sounds like a big car.
It's a truck.
On her laptop, Sarah shows Judy images of pickup trucks.
Big. And what kind of car were you driving?
A Toyota Camry.
That I know what it looks like. It's a regular size, smallish car. This incident happened, according to the complaint, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's correct.
I'm going to start with you, Mr. Parkinson, since it's your claim for false arrest.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me your version of what happened on June 7th, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I assume you were on your way home.
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Go ahead.
Miss Burke pulled out of the station in front of my vehicle, directly in front of me, causing me to hit my brakes extremely hard.
Okay. Either because she wasn't paying attention, right?
Could be.
Could be. Well, you wouldn't think. Just let me stop. When was the last time you were psychiatrically hospitalized?
Never.
Are you currently taking any psychotropic medication?
No, ma'am.
Were you intoxicated on the 7th of June?
No, ma'am.
4 o'clock in the afternoon?
No, ma'am.
So, Mr. Parkinson, let me go back a little bit. This is a non-psychotic, not drunk person. So if you're a thinking person, you know that if she pulled out, either she wasn't paying attention because she's not driving the Tundra, you are. You're driving a this, she's driving a this. So she wouldn't place herself and her son in harm's way purposely to pull out in front of your Tundra.
I would hope not.
Well, I would say absolutely not. I don't have to even guess about that. She did not put herself purposely in harm's way. And so she pulled out in front of you. You had to put on your brakes hard.
For her safety.
You weren't thinking about her safety. You're not thinking about anybody's safety. It's a reaction. If somebody pulls out unexpectedly, you put your brakes on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's not going through your mind for her safety. It's put your brakes on. I mean, because if you were thinking about her safety, then we wouldn't be here today. So after you put on your brakes to stop, did anything happen?
Some objects in the back of my truck dislodged, some stuff in the back of the seat moved.
And these things that got dislodged, did they get dislodged from the back cab in the truck or from the interior of the truck?
Both in the bed and the interior.
Okay, what got dislodged in the interior?
Some paperwork, some clothing.
Okay, so it fell on the floor?
Yes.
Okay, and in the back part of the truck?
Bed of the truck, some tools shifted also.
Didn't fall out of the truck. They just moved from one place to another.
That is correct.
What did you do next?
I proceeded to follow Miss Burke into the village because I live in the village.
When you say you followed her in, describe what you mean you followed her in.
She was in front of me, and I followed her into the village.
Don't play with me, sir. I read your complaint. You were tailing her.
Yes.
Yes. Well, let's say I was tailing her closely because you were annoyed.
Yes.
There we go. So you understand at this point, sir, that what you were involved in is road rage. You, not her. She was an accident. She was negligent. She wasn't paying attention. Let's say all of those things, not on purpose, because that would be stupid, and she has not recently been psychiatrically hospitalized. You, on the other hand, made a purposeful decision to tail her because you were annoyed that your tools moved. That's what happened. Would that be a fair statement, Mr. Parkinson?
Yes, I was annoyed.
Okay, you were annoyed, and what followed was an incident of road rage. Your husband, you've been in the car with him when he's had a little bit of road rage? Think about it before you answer me. Have you been in the car with him when he has reacted in a different way from the way you would have reacted to another car?
He has, very minimal.
The answer is either yes or no. Have you been with him in the car when he has reacted in a way that you would not have reacted in a traffic situation?
Yes, ma'am.
Caption coming up.
I assume that the police searched the truck.
The police searched me.
Did they search the truck?
I gave the police the authority to search my truck willingly.
They searched the truck.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brian and Shelley.
Brian Parkinson claims his neighbor, Shelley Burke, owes for the costs of being falsely arrested. Shelley is countersuing Brian for emotional distress, saying he threatened her with a gun.
And when he's reacted that way, did you ever say anything to him?
It was minimal. I didn't respond to it.
Really? Okay. Good. When my husband gets involved in one of those road rage things because somebody cuts him off, I'm all over him like white on rice. Are you crazy, putting me in jeopardy because you got a bad temper? That's what I say to my husband. She can attest to that. Me, I once said it to a police officer who pulled him over. Give him a ticket. Give him 2 tickets. Maybe he'll stop. Right?
True.
So now you're involved in a road rage hissy fit and you're tailgating her. How many blocks did you tail her? Or how many miles did you tail her? Don't look as if you don't understand my question.
No.
Okay, good.
3/4 of a mile, if that.
Okay, well, that's a pretty long way, 3/4 of a mile. So you were tailing her for 3/4 of a mile. And at some point, did she make a turn with her car to avoid you tailing her?
Yes.
A 90-degree turn?
Yes.
So tell me, now you're following her for 3/4 of a mile, and she makes this turn.
Yes.
Now, when she made that sharp turn, did you follow her?
Nope.
No.
No.
No. I know you didn't follow her because she made that turn to get away from you. Do you understand? I've been on this earth a very long time. You, Mr. Parkinson, are an ordinary guy with a bad temper. So I've played this scene in my head, both from personal experience and from watching other jerks like you, in my head 100 times. So when she made this turn, she made the turn to get away from you, and you said, well, I accomplished my mission. I jarred her a little bit. That's if I believe your story, all of it. And you went home. Now, I'm to the point where she makes the turn and you went home. So far, correct?
That is correct.
Does that look familiar to you, Mr. Parkinson?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so I would like you to walk over there, show me where the gas station is, and show me where you started to follow her.
I'll be more than happy to.
A map.
Of course, it says Shell right here. That's where the incident began.
Right.
She pulled out immediately in front of me, causing me to hit my brakes.
Just a second. So she caused you to hit your brakes?
Yes.
That
And
I know.
then she turned right. I followed her into the village. Everybody gets close.
No. Just show me. I followed her into the village and
Right
show me
here.
where you proceeded.
Then we drove down, and she turned, I believe, here or here.
Turned how?
To the right.
Okay. And you proceeded to your house?
Yes.
Okay. Now you can step back. So she turned off to get away from the maniac who was tailgating her because she had made a mistake in pulling out in front of him at a gas station. You go home, and what do you do when you get home?
I backed my truck in.
And then what did you do?
I got out of my truck to move the tools and stuff that had shifted to the front of the bed, to the back of the bed, where I can get to them better for work, because I had to slam on the brakes twice.
Mr. Parkinson, do you know what doesn't make sense to me? Your husband isn't a stupid man, is he?
No, ma'am.
No. Now, I don't drive a truck, but I know when I go to the store and buy 2 gallons of chicken soup with matzo balls, and I go to put them in the car, I say to myself, Judy, it's possible that you're going to have to stop short, that a light's going to turn red. So I put the chicken soup in between the front seat and the back seat of the car, and I move the seat so it's stable, so that if my car stops a little short, because even if it stops a little short, my chicken soup would be on the floor of the car. So I make sure that it doesn't move. It just doesn't make sense to me why you wouldn't secure this toolbox any better. If you stop short, those tools are naturally going to move, right? The weight of the tools is actually going to move. Okay, so I just am putting this whole thing in my head. Do you need a permit to buy a gun in Arkansas?
You do not have to have a permit to carry in Arkansas. It is an
But you
open
have to make
carry
an
state.
application.
You have to apply to buy a handgun or long rifle.
Have you ever done that?
Yes, I have, multiple times.
Just a second. So the answer is yes.
Yes.
What have you applied to buy?
Numerous guns.
Which you still have.
Yes.
I assume that you keep those guns within the proximity of your home.
They are all kept in the house, Your Honor.
The next thing, according to you, the police show up at your door.
That is correct.
And they have a conversation with you about a report.
Yes, they
that
did.
someone has, in your area, has complained that there were shots fired by you out of your truck during this road rage incident.
That's what the statement says.
That's what the statement says. And I assume that the police searched the truck.
The police searched me.
Did they search the truck?
I gave the police the authority to search my truck willingly.
They searched the truck.
I told them they could.
Mr. Parkinson, I know that you think that I'm stupid. I know that you must think that I'm stupid. Did you give the police permission to search your house? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Of course not. Because in your house, they would have found multiple guns.
Correct.
In your house, that's a yes or a no. In your house, they would have found multiple guns.
Yes.
You keep multiple guns in your house, but don't carry one around for protection in your truck. When did they arrest you?
I was arrested on August 2nd.
Okay. And?
I was told to call the village police department. I promptly called them, and they told me I had a warrant for my arrest.
And?
I was very shocked.
And?
And I was charged with felony assault, and I had to pay $1,080 to bond and fees to get out of jail.
And?
I was released from jail. And then on the 17th, is that correct?
19th.
The 19th of August, I had a court date.
And?
It was nolle prost, due to the request of the village police department for lack of evidence.
Okay. And?
So I'm out that amount of money for bond for a false arrest because a false statement and half a day.
Okay, we're going to find out if it's a false statement. So far, I'm not thinking it's a false statement. I have to let that sink into you, Mr. Parkinson. So far, I'm not thinking it's a false statement. I'm going to hear the defendant. I know one thing for certain. You were involved in a road rage incident and you were the perpetrator. Whether or not you flashed a gun, she's going to tell me. We certainly know that you have guns, according to you, multiple guns, in your house. I suppose you have a couple for you and a couple for your wife. Who else lives in your house with you?
Just two of us.
Just the two of you. How many guns does he have in the house?
Caption, coming up, Shelley at the map.
So when I go around this one S-car, I hear a pop. And I'm like, oh my God, he just shot at us. I said, call 911. When I start coming back down again, I look in my passenger mirror. I saw the spark. I saw it. I'll never forget it. He popped the gun again.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brian and Shelley.
Brian Parkinson is accusing his neighbor, Shelley Berg, of lying to the police and getting him falsely arrested. Shelley claims Brian was shooting his gun while following her home.
How many guns does he have in the house?
We have 2 long guns that he used for hunting, and we each have a handgun.
And you each have a handgun?
Yes.
Good.
They are in travel cases that are locked.
You want to know something? I don't believe that.
Well, we have grandchildren that come over.
When there are grandchildren, you may lock them. Okay, now we're going to you, Miss Burke. Did you see him when you cut him off?
I did not.
Let's start out with the fact that you were exiting the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see him. You weren't paying attention. You didn't look that way. Whatever it was, you cut him off. So let's start from there.
You got it. This gray truck comes up behind me, swerving and revving his motor and all that. Got as close as he possibly could.
Why don't you show me
I
over
will
there?
do that. Okay.
Shelley approaches a map on a view screen.
There's 2 lanes going into the village. There's a left and a right lane. I go left, he goes right. Well, I get in front of him, and then he starts getting behind me, swerving his car back and forth, revving his motor. He is so close. He's probably closest to me and him. I mean, he's not a car length away. He's right up on my bumper. And revving his truck, and I'm going the speed limit. Then I turn, I make a left. He's still right on me, never lets up. It's kind of a tricky area because it's curvy. So when I go around this one S-car, I hear a pop. And I'm like, oh my God, he just shot at us. I said, call 911. When I start coming back down again, I look in my passenger mirror. I saw the spark. I saw it. I'll never forget it. And he heard it. We heard, even on the phone call, I think you can possibly hear it. He popped the gun again. And then he's on 911 talking to her, and the lady's saying, be calm, be calm. And I'm leaning down in the car. He's trying to tell me to go. He looks like he's going on past us. But when he does that, he rolls down the window, and you could see him holding a gun in his hand. And he says something I can't understand what he's saying. He's getting the license plate number. So we thought he kept on going.
So your son got the license number?
Yeah, he got the license plate number. He's on the phone with 911 at this time.
And that's what was given to the police?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I got the 911 call here with us today.
I would like to hear it. Step back. Can I hear the 911 call, please?
Go, 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 go!
911, what is your emergency?
Somebody was all shooting at us.
What?
He's a Grace Toyota's truck. He was shooting at us. His license plate number is...
I need all units. We got a vehicle that is, the complainant's on 911 saying the vehicle is shooting at them. I'm fixing to run the tag. Who am I speaking with?
This is Leslie Scott Rogers.
And you said what kind of vehicle was it?
It's a gray Toyota Tundra. Go.
It's coming back on a gray Toyota Tundra, and that's what the complainant says. It's a 2014 Toyota Tundra.
Okay, start that 911 call all over again. Pay careful attention, because I thought at the beginning of this tape, I too heard a shot. Could we start again, please? Take your hand out of your pocket.
Go, 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 go.
911, what is your emergency?
Somebody behind shooting at us.
There it is. There it is. Got it. You can stop it.
That doesn't sound like a gunshot.
Your case is dismissed, Mr. Parkinson. Your case is dismissed. I have a counterclaim, so stand where you are. The counterclaim is by Miss Burke for the emotional trauma that she, let's just talk about her, went through as a result of your road rage and shooting your gun at her, which you did. You probably didn't shoot it to hit her or to hit the car, because I don't think you're that stupid. Stupid, yes, but I don't think that's stupid. I think you did it to frighten her, just to frighten her. Then I think that you brought the gun that you keep in your truck when you work, maybe on your person, which you probably have a perfectly legal right to do, and you took the gun, you said, just in case something happens, because I did, in fact, shoot my gun in her direction, because I heard it on the 911 call. I better put it in the house. I better put it in the house. So you took the gun and you brought it into the house, and then saying, oh, police are here. Oh, well, search my truck. You won't find a gun. Search me. You won't find a gun on me. Don't search my house. And I guarantee you that you didn't say to the policemen when they came, I do have a gun, but it's locked in my house. Show me something where you told the police that you had a gun, but it was in the house. Nothing, because it didn't happen. Based upon that 911 call, the fact that you were involved in a road rage incident with her, tailing her at least 3/4 of a mile, right on her tail, causing that 911 call, as far as I'm concerned, that's trauma. My heart would have been racing triple time, because I don't know whether behind me is a lunatic or just a stupid guy who can't control his temper, and his wife hasn't been able to beat it out of him for the last how many years you're married. Because there's no question he's done that sort of thing before. Maybe not with a gun. Maybe not with a gun. When was the last time, sir, prior to this time, that you were arrested? When was the last time prior to this time that you were arrested? Year?
19.
Then 19, your age, or 2019? 19. 2019. For what? Now, don't think, I know that if I were arrested once, a couple of years ago, I would have remembered what it was.
Well, I was arrested for supposed harassment, violation of no contact order. What else?
No, don't look at her.
It's been so many times, I can't remember.
So you've been arrested multiple times?
Yes.
Okay, good. Nice. You picked him.
I don't see how this pertains.
How does it pertain?
I do
for your propensity for violence, sir.
This has nothing to do with violence.
No, it does have to do with her counterclaim. $5,000 is what your counterclaim is for. Is that correct? Judgment on the counterclaim for $5,000. Your claim's dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
It was a very bad day.
We do not carry weapons in our vehicles.
I won't even go out at night anymore because I'm scared he's coming by my house.
She described in the report a black weapon. We don't have a black handgun.
The truth is, I saw the guns.
Well, I think she created a situation by admitting she didn't see me.
I don't understand why he would even say that.
People want to drive stupid, let them, and just back off.
Judy.
The plaintiff was certainly not forthcoming. I let him search my truck. I let him search me. What about your house? Did you tell them I do have a gun, but it wasn't out, it wasn't me, because I leave my guns at, my 2 long guns and my 2 short guns at home? Yeah. You could hear the pop in the first part of that when he was hysterical. And
for the cost of a French bulldog.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Hello, Judge. Case 2120, Jones versus Caldwell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Jasmine.
Miss Jones, you and the defendant were in a romantic relationship that started about a year ago, more than a year ago. And then you decided to do one of the most foolish things that people do when they sort of fall in love, sometimes temporarily. You decided to buy a dog together. According to you, the relationship went south, and now we have this adorable dog that you want back. You say the dog is really yours. You were the one who was its primary caretaker. You paid for a vet bill. Mr. Caldwell said that's not the case. The dog was always supposed to be his. He purchased it. And it's your argument that if Mr. Caldwell is allowed to keep the dog, that you be reimbursed for the vet bills that you paid.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you and Mr. Caldwell live together?
Yes.
From when to when?
From February 1st of this year to September 3rd.
And in what month did you decide to get the dog's name is Scrappy?
Yes.
Scrappy.
We got Scrappy January 18th.
So before you moved in together?
Yes.
Where were you living?
I was going back and forth from my mom's house to Joshua's. I already had a key in January. I was staying there.
Okay, but you were living with your mother?
Yes.
In January?
Yes.
And who was the breeder of this dog? Did you buy the dog from the breeder or from?
From the breeder, Andrew.
Now, Andrew was sitting over there on the defendant's side, so I assume that Andrew was a friend of your boyfriend's.
Yes.
Stand up, Andrew.
Frederick holds Scrappy.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
That's Scrappy.
Yes.
Scrappy is about 8 months old?
He just hit a year about 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, so still a puppy.
Yes.
Looks very healthy. When Scrappy was purchased, was the amount paid for him the same as was paid for the other dogs in Scrappy's litter?
No.
How many puppies were in the litter?
5.
Did you charge Mr. Caldwell or Miss Jones for Scrappy?
Mr. Caldwell.
How much did you charge him?
$3,000, Your Honor.
Who paid you?
Joshua.
Mr. Caldwell, did he pay by check or cash?
Cash and Zelle payments.
Did you ever see Miss Jones in the purchasing process?
Yes, I seen her.
Tell me about it.
At the time when they came to pick up the dog, she was his girlfriend, but there was no connection with me.
Was that the first time you had met her?
I've seen her around because we would work at the gym together. We're both personal trainers, so I would see her around the gym sometimes.
Had you discussed with your friend Joshua?
Yes.
While you were working with him in your personal training at the gym, had you discussed with him getting a dog?
Yes.
When?
I can't recall the exact date, but I know that he had seen that I had bought my dog and that I was getting into the business. So he contacted me early in, say, 2020, stating that, hey, I want to eventually, when you have a litter, get one of your dogs from you.
Do you remember what month that was in?
I'd say, well, Scrap was born October 2021. So around then, maybe a couple months before, when I let him know that the female was pregnant. So maybe around July, August.
Okay, of 2021.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that was well before the two of you lived together.
Yes.
Did you ever hear from Miss Jones? Did she ever call you before you saw her when they both came to pick up Scrappy?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you can sit down now. Cute. Miss Jones, who paid for Scrappy?
Me and Joshua.
Show me.
Jasmine produces a document.
I have here Zelle and Venmo payments to Joshua. The first one is in February, and then he didn't start asking me for large amounts.
Hold on one second. Hold on.
Judy reviews it.
These don't look like anything like payments for the dog. What are those payments? $100, $500, $350 in June? What were those for?
They were all payments towards Scrappy. He started asking me for $200, $350 at that time.
You mean after you already had the dog?
Yeah.
Because you got the dog.
Yeah, but he didn't pay for him straight up. And his friend told us that we could pay for him at will. He didn't give him money the first day that we picked him up.
Okay, I'll go back to you. How much money did Mr. Caldwell pay on the day he picked up the dog?
$0.
When was the first time he made a payment? Now you can stand up again.
Frederick rises.
He made a payment shortly after, within the first month, of about $300.
So in January, he made first payment
of $300.
And in January, there is no Zelle payment from you at all. When was the next payment? Do you recall?
I believe in March he paid another $200.
Well, do you have records of what you paid, sir?
Yes.
I'd like to see them. I just want to see what you paid and when you paid it. By the way, while he's looking for that, when you lived with Mr. Caldwell, did you both contribute to the rent?
My contribution to the rent was paying for the groceries, so I have all my receipts.
So the answer is you did not pay rent.
That was our deal.
But the answer is you did not pay rent.
No, ma'am.
Did you pay any utilities?
Only when he asked me for extra money to pay his phone bill or to pay for the Wi-Fi sometimes.
And when you paid for these extra things, Wi-Fi or its phone bill, did you pay by cash or did you pay by?
The extra charges in there that I didn't highlight, the ones that are $20, $30, those are for gas. The $70 one is for his card.
Well, I just want to know how you know the payment in July for $200, what it was for.
I was only giving him money at that time. For Scrappy, he started asking me for large amounts of money for him. So that's when I gave him those. He didn't ask me for anything towards bills for that apartment.
Is Scrappy totally paid for?
No.
How much is owed?
$2,300.
So the only amount that was paid so far was $700.
Yes, Your Honor.
Caption, coming up.
This is what happens, because relationships come and go. You know, 50% of the marriages in this country fail. So why would you think a relationship is going to last as long as a French bulldog?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jasmine, Joshua, and Frederick.
Jasmine Jones claims her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Caldwell, owes for the costs of a French bulldog. Joshua is countersuing for vandalism and an assault.
Okay, and this is an agreement that I, Joshua Caldwell, have agreed to buy Kashmir.
That was his name originally.
From Frederick Wright. Once the dog is paid in full, I will receive full ownership rights. Frederick Wright will remain the rightful owner of Kashmir until I complete $3,000 in payments, right?
Correct.
And both of you signed this, and this was in January of 2022. That's a reasonable. What are you laughing at?
I'm not laughing, I'm just like, when did he even sign that? Because I was with him the day that we picked him up, and he never showed me any contract.
Well, but this is reasonable, because he's not transferring any rights to him. He's going to remain the owner. He's the owner of the dog until the full amount is paid for the dog of $3,000. Right now, he said that the only thing was paid was $700. Go ahead, now I'll hear you. Now I got it, now you can sit down.
When I was present for us picking up Scrappy and purchasing him, it was word of mouth contract. There was no paper signing at all. He didn't even show me a paper.
And?
And he showed me him, he asked me if I liked him, I said yes, and he said he would go half on him with me.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And it was that same day. I get off of work, he picks me up, we go see Scrappy, didn't know we were gonna get him that day. We ended up getting him that day. He tells me, okay, it's just gonna be $3,500. They walk to the back of the room and start talking and making an agreement. Come back out.
So just a second. So they went in the back of the room. You were not there. That's what you just told me. They went in the back to make an agreement, and then they came out. That's what...
Whitney.
He tells me it's going to be $3,500. They walk to the back of the room, make an agreement.
Right, go ahead.
And then he comes back and we take Scrappy home. The next day, he texts me early in the morning and tells me that Scrappy might have gotten a bee sting or something because he was limping and he doesn't know what happened. I picked him up from his job that afternoon after I got off of work.
Okay, so you picked up the dog from his work.
Yes, picked him up and I went straight to my mom's house to get clothes because I was going back to his house. And I was examining Scrappy, no swollen paw, no bee sting. Then he said that he probably clipped his nail on the tile, and I'm just like looking at his paw, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it, but he's limping. Those were his stories. Still don't know what happened. Scrappy wasn't showing any signs of like pain, he was just limping. So I was like, we need to take him to the vet, like he needs to get checked out.
So you took him to the vet, okay,
Yes.
and?
The vet ended up telling us that he had a fracture.
You can't tell me what the vet told you. I'll look at the records from the vet.
Okay, sorry. I have the vet bills and the reports right here.
Jasmine hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Did you pay any part of these vet bills, sir?
Yes.
Which parts?
I didn't have any record of it because I didn't see it coming. I honestly didn't know what happened to his elbow. Andrew was there as well. We were both kind of like, we don't know. So I found out after going to the vet that Frenchies have a ligament in their elbow, and this happens often.
No one is suggesting that anyone abused the dog.
Okay. Oh, I'll just.
That's not the suggestion. My question was a simple one. Did you pay any of these vet bills? They're about $1,600.
Yes. I just don't
How much
have
did you pay?
any record of it.
What?
'cause-
He's lying.
I didn't ask you to interrupt. You have to understand, Miss Jones, you can't have this dog. First of all, this dog doesn't belong to either one of you. This dog belongs to him until the dog is paid for. So far, all he's gotten for the dog is $700. $500 of that he paid for. But right now, I can't award ownership of the dog, but there's a contract that until this dog is paid for, the dog belongs to Mr. Wright. First name?
Frederick.
Frederick. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Simple. So you have a friend who has Frenchies, then I suggest that you go with your original plan, which is to buy a dog yourself.
Not
Now,
the same.
you have no proof that you paid any of these vet bills.
I just have the medicine with my name on it.
Well, the medicine with your name on it doesn't help. $1,600 in vet bills. And you have physical custody of the dog now, right?
Right.
And your agreement with Mr. Wright is that you don't get ownership of that dog until the dog is paid for. Yeah, I mean, I can't enforce your contract with regard to Miss Jones. The dog was not paid for.
I've already offered to pay him for the remainder of whatever Josh hasn't paid him.
The contract is with Mr. Caldwell, not you. So that's what happened when foolish young people decide to own a dog together. And they're not married, they don't even live together. This is what happens, because the relationships come and go. You know, 50% of the marriages in this country fail. So why would you think a relationship is going to last as long as a French bulldog? It's sort of ridiculous, and I've advised against it for the last 25 years. Nobody wants to heed this. So I'm faced with a situation where, when did the two of you break up?
I left it on September 3rd.
Well, now we're a couple of months, but...
She didn't leave. She had to be... well, this is going to go into the assault charge.
I don't.
But
Listen,
she had
I don't
to be
care.
escorted
I don't
out.
care. Whatever.
I
don't care. You want
clothes.
I'll get to the counterclaim in a second. I will give it the same attention as I've given her claim for the dog. She's not getting the dog back. You have to, however, pay her the $1,600 that she paid for the vet. Do you understand? So that part of your petition is granted. Was the bill all paid?
I'm still paying it off currently. We both agreed to apply for care credit together, and whoever...
But it's your bill that you have to pay. If you work in accounting, you have a check, you don't want that garnished, so you have to pay it.
I am paying it.
You have to pay it. Okay. And he's going to reimburse you for that, $1,600. All right, now let's get to this counterclaim and make short shrift of it. Money owed for assault and vandalizing personal belongings. Let's start with the assault. Allegedly, the assault took place when the plaintiff came home intoxicated.
I'm a kickboxer. On September 3rd, she came to my fight, and she dropped me off at home.
That's a lie.
If you say it again, what I'm going to do, if you interrupt Miss Jones, again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dismiss your claim, and you'll pay for these vet bills yourself. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead.
She didn't like the people that was at my fight there, and so she had a couple drinks. She got to my house, and she started to fight with me, and I tried to remove myself from the fight, and then she started getting violent. So then I called her family to come pick her up, and they showed up maybe an hour later. In that hour, I tried to remove myself to another room. She went and got scissors and started to cut my shoes up. Then I had to try to grab my shoes and scrap and go into the opposite room, and she came in there and was trying to fight me. All the while all this happening, I'm recording her on video to make sure that I'm...
You have that recording?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Caption, coming up.
This would be me asking her just to leave. This whole thing is out of retaliation. What are you about to do? Why are you hitting me in the face?
Record me? Because I want my dog?
Fighting me. She won't stop fighting me. I've asked her to leave.
Explain that to me.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jasmine and Joshua.
Jasmine Jones is accusing her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Caldwell, of owing vet bills for a French bulldog. Joshua is countersuing, claiming Jasmine assaulted him.
Okay. You have that recording?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
This would be me asking her just to leave. This whole thing is out of retaliation. Why are you hitting me in the face?
Record me? Because I want my dog?
Fighting me. She won't stop fighting me. I've asked her to leave. Your stuff is in bags.
You're such a... Josh.
Okay. There you go again. There you go again. On camera hitting me.
Jasmine lunges at the camera.
On camera. You see her hitting me? There you go.
Explain that to me.
I wasn't dropping him off. We were still...
I don't care what you're dropping off. Explain that video to me.
I was pushing the phone out of my face because he had me on live and was saying my full name. He cut off parts of it.
Now, I just want to know what happened here. This was clearly you were going after him.
I
don't know whether you...
knocking the phone out of his hand because he was saying my full name, saying I was crazy. I had already packed my stuff. I was leaving. We walk in the house. He calls me a dumb bee and then goes straight to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna leave. Like, I'm not gonna deal with this. I had Scrappy by my side. I was packing what I could, taking it downstairs. I walk back up. He goes, oh, you're leaving? And he snatches Scrappy and locks him in the bedroom. And then when he goes to open the door is when I barge in. I'm just like, give me my dog so I can leave. And
well, I want to know what the violent stuff was about.
He was recording me,
He was
saying
recording?
my name.
He was recording
and
you?
saying I was crazy and I wouldn't get out of the house. And I was like, stop recording me. And I was just hitting the phone out of his hand. I never once put my hands on him. He's already hit me and choked me in the past, so I would not go there to provoke him to hurt me again.
Did you ever report to anyone that he hurt you?
I told my mom.
Did you ever report?
No, I didn't.
Mr. Caldwell, were you injured?
I mean, I'm a fighter. I'm not gonna...
Were you injured is my question.
No.
Her family came?
Yeah.
The police were not called. You called her family instead. Did you pick her up? Stand up, please. You're a mother?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And this incident happened on what date when he called you?
It was about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
On...
Shh. Don't interrupt. On what date?
Labor Day.
Did you go to Mr. Caldwell's home?
Yes, I did.
What time did you get there?
Probably almost 4.
Had Mr. Caldwell ever called you before with regard to picking up your daughter, or that she was... No.
No.
So this was a first?
Yes.
Now, when you got there, I want you to describe what you saw.
She was crying, she was upset, and I told her, come on, let's just go. And she said, no, I want to get my dog. I can't leave my dog here. He's been violent in the past. I've seen it. I told her, don't ever leave him with him again after a beach incident where he, like, hit him. I mean, he's a kickboxer, like he said. He doesn't hit the dog like a normal person would just tap a dog. No, this was back in July. He was a puppy, he was a baby. And I was so furious when I saw that. He only did it because the dog snapped at him, because he was angrily packing him up into a dog carrier.
Would you do me a favor? Would you describe to me your daughter's condition?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Describe to me, you have to understand, your daughter cannot get the dog. The dog does not belong to the defendant.
Okay.
The dog belongs to Mr. Wright.
What happens to the $1,310 she spent for the dog?
Well,
she sent that money to him.
I have to tell you something. I don't see anything in your daughter's evidence that suggests to me that any payments that she made to him had anything to do with the dog. Anything to do with the dog. Mr. Wright was very clear. He said he received $700 for the dog. There were 2 payments that were identified in his register as payments for Scrappy. There is absolutely nothing in your daughter's register that she gave me of these odd payments of $160 or $70 say Scrappy on it. Not one. So I've already made a determination of where the dog is staying. The dog is staying wherever Mr. Wright wants the dog to stay, because he owns the dog.
Okay.
Understand?
Yes.
So now that's your daughter's case. I finished that part of the case. What I want to know is he has a counterclaim, and his counterclaim was that your daughter, while in an intoxicated state, assaulted him. Some of that I saw on this video. Some of it you saw on the video. Mr. Caldwell was honest, because it doesn't look as if he was injured as a result of that, and I'm absolutely not discounting the fact that no one should put their hands on somebody else, but an assault requires an injury. And so if this is is that dog sleeping?
No,
that is so funny.
He grunts all the time.
That is so funny. So, Mr. Caldwell, can you show me what damage you allege Miss Jones caused your property? That's the next thing. You said an assault, which never happened because there was no physical injury. Would you mind telling me, please, what property specifically and photographs of that property?
I'll have it.
Okay, so your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600 for the vet bills that she paid or is obligated to pay on her credit.
It's not assault unless I get hurt.
Yes, it's not an assault unless there is an injury.
So if I was
that it's an
drunk, beating
attempt,
her up at her
just a
house?
second, that's an attempted, sir, it's an attempted assault. Do you understand? If an assault has a specific definition, I believe she probably attempted to assault you when she touched you in an unauthorized manner.
She's punching me in the face. That's not a...
Show me picture of any injury. Show me. No, I didn't see that in the video, sir. I saw her lunging towards you. Do you understand? I saw her lunging towards you.
All right.
I didn't see her hit you. I didn't see a photograph of any injury. I didn't see a police report where you reported any injury.
Report incidents where her being drunk and fighting other men.
Oh, okey-dokey. Did you understand what I said? An assault requires injury. An attempted assault does not. And attempted assault is a crime. But it's a crime which I choose, because of the circumstances here, not to consider and not to award you any cash award because you were not injured in any way. So unless you have photographs of the pair of shoes that you say she cut or something else, I'm dismissing your counterclaim. We got it? Good. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Scrappy was not just like a dog or a pet, like he was my support.
I mean, it was fair. Obviously, she had nothing to do with the dog.
It's expected because he lied the entire time that we were together.
And that's a lie.
Him not to have given him any of the money that I put towards Scrappy.
She literally just got all the transactions that we've ever done between each other on Venmo or Zelle and brought that to court.
Now I just think like he was pocketing that money the entire time.
And that's why it was dismissed, because it wasn't valid at all.
Sarah.
So I disagree with you a little bit on the countersuit of the assault charge. I have a more common law. So assault versus battery, as far as I learned, was assault was just the imminent threat of a harm. You're fearing for your life or offensive contact of some sort, whereas battery is the actual offensive touching. There has to be some sort of contact. So if we're ruling by common law, which I know we're not bound by any particular state's jurisdiction, I would have awarded him something for the assault claim.
My training is in New York, and in New York there is no crime of battery. My training was it's a